have some news from the Biden Oval Office. It's only been, less than 24 hours, and Biden is already backtracking on some of the shit that he said. Already. So, let me pull this up. So Biden said that he wants kids back in school in the next 100 days. Did y'all know that? You would have thought there would have been a bunch of outrage about this on Twitter already. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But that's what the article says. It says, this is Eyewitness News, ABC 7. President Biden pushes to reopen schools within 100 days as part of COVID-19 response. What you mean? That's like the opposite of response, right? I guess you just pretend like COVID-19 don't exist. But I mean, okay, whatever. We're going to get into it. Washington. President Joe Biden. Oh, that sounded disgusting coming out of my mouth. Oh, Jesus. Can't believe y'all making me have to say this shit. President Joe Biden is pledging to reopen most K-12 schools within 100 days. An ambitious goal as COVID cases surge and teachers across the country fight some plans to reopen. Teachers union leaders say they are pleased with Biden's sense of urgency and focus, but they warn that the 100-day pledge may need to be a goal rather than a fixed target. Biden is expected to sign several executive actions Thursday, his second day in office, to help support the reopening goal and establish a national strategy to get coronavirus under control. But the measures stop short of requiring schools to open within any set time frame. So, Biden is now saying that he wants kids to go back to school, wants them to reopen, which is effectively, I think that we can agree, common sense will tell you this means he is right now implementing a strategy to get everything up and running again in ensuring the economy is back on track because no president, of course, wants to be responsible for a trash economy. And every president wants to be responsible and get credit for fixing the economy. Now, I've said for months now, once again, avid listeners know what's up. I said that one of the only good things about Joe Biden being president is the fact that we'll finally see probably the end of some of these nonsensical COVID-19 policies. All of a sudden, you'll be allowed to discuss the other drugs like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine and zinc and interferon alpha 2B. You'll be allowed to discuss those medications. We'll be reopening the economy and implementing, we'll be reopening it safely, but we will be reopening nonetheless. Because Biden and the establishment doesn't want a bad economy under Biden. Like the Democratic establishment especially. And let's be real, the Democratic establishment is largely what has guided a lot of these sporadic, disjointed COVID responses. Now, with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn our attentions to this, because Biden here is already talking about opening up in 100 days, but that's not what he said a few months ago during the debates. This is a Politico article from not even September, bro. August 2020. So it says here, Biden says he'd lock down the country if spread of coronavirus warranted it. Okay. So Biden says, check out this article, okay? So it says Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden said that he would do whatever it takes to combat the spread of coronavirus within the country, including locking down the U.S. if deemed necessary. I would shut it down. I would listen to scientists, Biden told ABC's David Muir in a joint interview with his running mate Kamala Harris to air on Sunday. We're going to do whatever it takes to save lives. Biden's comments represent the strongest potential action the Democratic nominee has proposed to staunch the spread of the virus that has killed at least 175,000 people across the United States as of Friday evening. President Trump resisted calls for another shutdown despite spike in coronavirus cases in many states this summer. Trump and members of his administration have argued that a new lockdown will cause irreparable damage to the economy. We won't be closing down the country again. We won't have to do that, Trump said in an interview with Fox News in June. Biden, appearing in his first interview since officially becoming the Democratic nominee for president this week, strongly disagreed with Trump's reasoning. He said, "We cannot get the country moving until we control the virus. That is the fundamental flaw of this administration thinking to begin with. In order to keep the country running and moving and the economy growing and people employed, you have to fix this virus." Okay. So I'm confused because, like I just said, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden just said he wants to open up the economy. He said he wants to open up the economy. President Joe Biden is pledging to reopen most K-12 schools within 100 days. By the standards set by the Democratic establishment, has the virus gotten under control? No, it hasn't. According to ABC, they just said there are surges in cases. There's a spike right now. And there are teachers actually fighting across the country to stop the reopening at this moment. Okay? So I'm just saying, based off of the logic that we have been seeing this entire last year by the Democratic establishment, this is Joe Biden doing literally the exact opposite of what they've claimed should be done for the last year. When Trump was taking these steps, because once again, we gotta keep the same energy. If you said that Trump shouldn't, because I've always been a proponent of reopening the economy safely, mostly if you're not going to put, if you're not going to take the financial burden on as a federal government or the state government and make sure that people can survive, and at least to the most of the degree that they had survived prior to the pandemic and prior to a government forced lockdown, like then you need to let people go to work and let these companies take safety precaution to do so. You gotta do one or the other, if not both. Okay. But whenever people like me said that, we were attacked. I think it's common sense. Either you help people or you let them fucking work. Don't stop them from doing both. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. But Joe Biden now saying we should open, he's not saying, doing. He's now opening up, now reopening the country. He said we can't get the country moving until we get control of the virus. Ladies and gentlemen, based off of that article that just said that Biden is about to reopen, we don't have control of the virus. In fact, there are spikes. So I'm confused. What is the difference between Trump opening the country when we had more than just vaccines back then, by the way, but even still, right? So the vaccine had been developed. So what was to stop Trump from rolling out and coming up with a plan to reopen the nation right before he got out? What's the difference? Once again, why is this vaccine all of a sudden acceptable as an excuse to be able to justify reopening the country? Whenever Kamala herself tried to claim that she didn't trust this vaccine because it came from the Trump administration. Once again, we're seeing all these inconsistencies getting exposed. I said, once Biden gets in, all of a sudden, COVID is not going to be this crippling virus that means we have to shut down the entire nation. They will not allow that to happen. The Biden administration will all of a sudden, don't get me wrong, they're not going to give us money, but corporations got a bunch of their money already, bro. Half of the small businesses in the country, a fourth of them are closed right now. We don't know how many of them will be open. They've racked out effectively. They got what they need out of us. The housing market is about to just come crashing on itself. So now that the country is, they're going to blame it on Trump, okay? Even though, once again, Trump suggested doing the same thing. This is Trump's problem was not had nothing to do with wanting to reopen the economy. My problem with Trump's handling of this was not signing more executive orders to get direct cash payments to the people. That was my issue, because he had a lot of that in his power. Biden's full of shit, and we're already beginning to see it. It's already getting exposed. So